good, Suav City? Welcome to another video. It's Suav here. And if you can't tell, my background has changed a lot. My hair is longer. And right now, this isn't a stream deck. This is just my phone. I'm using the free version. Thinking about getting a stream deck because it helps with this sort of things right here. There's been some changes to the studio. Like I have this iPad on an arm and it charges it, and I could use it as an extra display or as like just for my faders and stuff. It's really nice. I painted my wall red here. It's a different finish on the whites as well. Everything has been painted. As you can tell, the displays are gone as well. The reason for that being is I just think that number one, it looks a little tacky on the red walls. It just didn't. It just looked busy. It looked messy when I put them up, and also the main reason I think I probably would have had them up, but they kept falling because they didn't like the sticking didn't like the new finish. So I ended up just taking them off, and I think it's gonna stay like that for a while. I think it actually kind of looks nice. I even put some shelves up. I have this like curtain thing. It's really nice. And things are starting to change a lot here in this little studio area of mine slash where I'm sleeping for the time being. But so what I wanted to make this video about too were a couple things. The main things are going to be the aux tracks and the ghost outputs. We'll talk about those in a second. But I did want to make another announcement. A lot of people have been asking me how to get the tracking toolbar if you are not on the exchange. Now, for those who are on the exchange, if you just go to your browser tab and go to cloud and just go to I believe it would be shop. No, not shop. It should be just cloud and PreSonus Exchange. Make sure you're signed in. And then if you type in Suav, you should be able to find the three that are under the Suav, which is the toolbar macro page for tracking. I now have a palette, which is just basically my preferred colors for recording. And then this color theme. V2, I had an earlier version that was a little bit more on the reddish side, almost like this tint, and I didn't really like it for the entirety of the look. So I updated it so it was more purple. And so yeah, you can get it there, but if you're not on the exchange, the only other way you can get it is by hitting me up on Instagram and sending me your email so I can send you the file. But do this soon because I am going to be launching my website 100% next week. Now, the other thing is, if you've seen my video about the guild here that we all know is sadly leaving us soon, I decided to scrap the whole sample pack because just my heart's not in it. I'm not a sampler. I don't care for samples, and I'm all about you guys learning instruments and getting better at your craft. So that's not going to happen anymore. But lastly, before we get into the video, there is a link to another YouTube channel in the description, and that's called Suav City Sessions. So as you guys know, I'm Suav, and if you're here, you're part of Suav City, and Suav City Sessions are going to be live recordings of artists that I support, not only in this area, but that are just in this rock and R&B field. So I have actually a sample here of one that we're going to be mixing live on this channel. And we don't have the footage for it, but eventually we're going to get these guys footage for it. These musicians will be on this channel, though. We are going to do some interviews with them and talk about their upbringing and their styles of music. Isaiah is the guitar player here. He's really dope. And this was all recorded on a Q16 because that's what they had at the venue. For you guys that don't know, I work at Ace of Spades at Good Luck Lounge in the Sacramento area. And I recorded these and mic'd everything up, so I can't complain about any miking techniques when I go to mixing because I'm the one who did it. But luckily, I do believe I have a really good miking technique for drums, and the guitar and bass were DI, and vocals are vocals. So, yeah, we will be doing a mixing video within this month. One of the next videos you'll see will be us mixing this song for TSAVO. He's given me permission to mix it for you guys so you can see my mixing workflow. Now, one of the mistakes I made is when the show started, I didn't turn the crowd mics on immediately. So unfortunately for like one whole song, I didn't realize I didn't have the phantom power on because it was kind of a throw and go. And yeah, I just totally missed it. But then I turned it on, and so now we have some crowd mics there at the end. But it's okay. I'll show you how I'll flush it out and everything on that video. But I just want to give you guys a sample of what this is going to sound like. So this is TSAVO.
You gotta face that shit. Yeah, this song is called Shadow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Running to play. Fuck it, I'm seizing the day. No time go to waste. Building dreams ain't on a chase. They can tell this ain't a phase. I see my future, they're putting together like clay. Sliding right in the home base, yeah. Running my mouth, but end up on a hit list. Real niggas stirring up mischief. Popping shots only gon'
So yeah, there's a little sneak peek, and this guitar player and this bass player you're gonna see on this channel. We're gonna interview him and talk about their play style. He makes music himself. The bass player, like, they all kind of make their own music, but especially these two, because they are the most booked duo as far as guitar and bass in my area. As far as I know, I see them everywhere. So we will have them on this channel to talk to them and interview them. And so that will be coming up. So please subscribe to Suav City Sessions. A lot of cool stuff coming that way. There's nothing there now, but there will be. So please hit the subscribe button down there. Trust me, you'll love it. Anyhow, let's get into the main part of this whole video, and that is going to be the aux channel and the ghost outputs. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to my faders. I know you guys aren't seeing it quite yet, but we will get to that in a second. I just have to get rid of some things here. I'm trying to figure out, remove, there we go. Cool. There was a instrument there that shouldn't have been there. It was just like a VST from a previous recording like this I was doing. So we are going to go ahead and switch over to Studio One view, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the faders, because the first thing we're going to talk about is the aux channel. So I'm going to right click, hit add aux, and we're going to move this over here. Now first things first, when you make an aux channel, you'll notice it doesn't appear here, okay? I did tell you guys that the aux channel is meant for recording. I didn't mention that the aux track was mainly meant for using external synthesizers and things like that, so that you can send MIDI information here, but also hear the stuff in real time from the aux track going into your inputs. So if you want to learn how to do the external instruments, go watch Gregor. He has a really good video on it, and there's a lot of other people with actual analog synthesizers that can explain how to do that. I just don't have any on me, unfortunately, at the moment. I will eventually. But one thing I had set up differently when I first made that video about how to use these, how to set up Studio One, I had this disengaged, and the reason why that was really annoying. So we have the, let's color this aux channel. We'll make it very separate from everything else. So I'm just going to make it a light blue, because there's no light blue track. So you can obviously see which one is the aux channel. So when you have it on this, if you add a bus or an effects track, you don't have the Q mix options on there. Okay, that's what we were talking about, and that's why I was saying auxes are for recording, which they are. But one thing that's a little finicky about this is this setup with that unchecked. If you use the iPad app, unfortunately I mentioned phones, but for some reason, I don't know why they haven't done this, but you cannot actually use your phone to do the Q mixes, which PreSonus, please make it available on the phone app as a phone app for Android and iPhones, because you are missing out on a huge opportunity right there, because that would be freaking goated if we could do that. So unfortunately it's only on the iPad, so I digress anyways. And so when you're on there, I would have an artist, like, let's say I would do like video recordings of artists when they're singing through and through. Like my girlfriend, she has a YouTube channel. She does like metal singing, and so she hates having a bunch of cuts on her stuff. So she wanted to sing things through straight. So you would have just one big long thing like this and then another big long thing like this. And what would happen is when we were recording the next take on a different track, because that's how I set it up, um, what I noticed is that if we come over here and mute something, so like say we were muting this track, it wouldn't mute it for the cues because they're separate. So in order for you to mute on the cues, you have to hit this little power thing right here. Then it's muted on the cues because they're not synced. See, mute cue mix. So you're muting that fader for that cue mix. That was really annoying because I was like, "What do you mean? Why are you still hearing it?" I would mute it, and she was still hearing it, and I was like, "What the heck?" So it turns out, in order to do that, you have to hit this. Now, I just want to show you something real quick. So I have that bus over there. I'm gonna hold Shift, highlight, and move these over to that bus real quick. So as of right now, what that means is they can individually mix each item. And then the effects, you'll notice that this has nothing on there. But the other thing I want to point out, because I was explaining that the bus is for group masters, which is what I just did, and the effects are for side effects like sending reverbs or delays. The main reason is this solo green button right here. All that means is when you solo something, that will always be soloed. So like if you have a reverb for a vocal and you solo it, if you put it on the bus, it'll mute when you solo the vocal, but if you put on the effects, it automatically solos. However, it's not that big of a deal because if you hold Shift and S, click S, it stays green and the same thing happens. But it's clearly intended for a group master because if you look at the master fader or your outputs, it's got that kind of character enhancer with like a console, so you can kind of have it using that. So it's really meant for a group master. But now I want to show you what happens when I switch back to the setting that I prefer so that I can control the mutes by just hitting mute. That's like when I want the most I want artists to be able to control is the amount of reverb they get, and just like if something's too loud, just to bring it down a little bit. That's it. I don't need them to be having to do a full-on mix, right? So if you look at this, now what happens is these no longer have the Q mixes because they're going to this bus, and now the bus has the Q mixes. So with this setup, basically what it does is anything that goes to the main mix will have the ability to be controlled by Q. So if I send these back to mains, they appear again. But if I want to send it to the bus, and I'll relabel this so it's easy to see, drum bus. So see, they're all going to drum bus, and the drum bus is right here. So what ends up happening is that you would no longer have individual mixes of these, which kind of sucks sometimes because you're like, well, maybe in the stereo mix, the hi-hat was at a good volume, but it's not necessarily a good volume in the realm of the headphones. So all they have is control of the overall right here, like the overall output, and they could just do it on their own like that. Which, so you got to pick and choose what you're willing to do. Now, then again, buses. The reason why I don't think it's that big of a deal is typically buses you're not doing till like post, unless you're doing like vocal recording. That's the only time you're actually gonna have um, a sidechain during recording, and even then, the effects you can always have because you're always gonna use the send and send this out the main, so you're gonna get a blend. It's gonna be a parallel chain, so you're fine. So, but if for whatever reason you wanted to create a bus thing so you could control the overall volume of something with one fader and throw effects on it, and someone's coming in to record without sending these back to mains, then they'd only be able to control the drums like that. However, I don't think that's a bad thing because if for whatever reason you're recording an entire band and you just need to turn the drums overall down, having just one fader to deal with rather than like 8 if you have a bunch of different drum mics is so nice. So I can't complain about that. So yeah, just be aware that if you have this unchecked, when you mute here, it doesn't mute on the aux sends. And that's something to be very just aware of, because that can throw you off and can be very annoying. But it also gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as how you do Q mixes, which is nice. And I think that anything that goes to main can do that, so I think that's really good. Now, the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about the aux track for is, if you look at the inputs, you have all of your inputs available, right? Awesome. No big deal. That's really cool. Now, the thing I want to pay attention to is, what are the output options of these things, right? So, or yeah, the output options. And the basic way to see what an output option is for something else is to go to an actual audio track and see what pops up. Obviously, you got the inputs, but if you look, I have an output option for aux 1, but it's going to main, which means that the aux, as well as the drum bus or an effects channel, they all have double sends. So you can either go out of the output, like change the output and have it go through, or you can keep it going through the main and then have it also sending to something else. So this is where the power to me comes in when it comes to this. So I'm gonna have to create one more track here, just a regular audio track, mono, no big deal. And we're gonna move it up here because I believe this is, if you look over here, yeah, my aux track is gonna be like right there. So we'll go back, and there we go. So they're right next to each other. So let's move it left to right because that just makes more sense for my head. So we're gonna go ahead and make this the aux 1. We're gonna call this record bus, right? Or sometimes I'll call it tune because of like imprinting auto tune. So I'll say tune, and as you see, this changes the tune now. I know you can't see the bottom of it because I can see it on the screen that you're not seeing the bottom of it, but basically I'm just renaming it, and then it appears as tune. Now notice that this is still going to main. So right now you're about to see the full potential of the aux track, even if you're not using external instruments. So now if I choose the mic, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a compressor on it. You're going to hear double right now, but before I end up switching that and muting it, okay, so we're getting better volume. I want to match it, so let's go to 10. Okay, so that looks a little better. And we'll stick with that for now. So I'm gonna mute so on the other thing so we don't double talk. Okay, so now you should be hearing just my screen mic. So this is where this thing gets pretty freaking cool. So as you see, I have this aux right here, which I can add things and record into this track and commit. So I can add autotune on it and commit it in. Now, as cool as that is, you also have to remember you have the ability to create a channel strip on the way in. So this is before the aux track, before this track. So yes, you can throw it on here, but if you just want to be able to adjust your channel strip that you're recording through and committing without having to go through another tab, you can just create an aux and do that. But the other powerful thing right now, I don't know if you've really noticed, you're hearing me through the DAW and I have nothing engaged. Nothing is armed. So this is the power of the aux track, because that means if you have an artist with a mic, so picture this, your artist is in your vocal booth or to the right of you, right? You set up an aux track with their vocal mic input. You don't even have to set anything on there if you don't want to commit anything. You could put it on the actual recording track. But what this means is, before you even hit record, you're going to be able to talk to your artist. Their mic is always on. And you could also use it as so sometimes I'll use this. I'll set up two. So what I would do is, like, I would set up a mic for my mic and then a mic for them. And then what that would mean is I could have my talkback mic or my guidance mic, because when you're doing vocal production, right, you need to guide your singers sometimes. Sometimes they look to you, be like, okay, am I hitting the notes right? Or you guide the harmony. So I could have two aux tracks, so I can set another aux track here and have it be a different input, right? Like I changed the wrong one. Okay, so I could have this one right here, and let's say I have my artist mic line, which is my input 8. I have nothing plugged in, but essentially, um, I have nothing there, so I don't even know why I'm doing that. But essentially, what would happen is we both can talk to each other the entire time. I don't have to worry about having a track armed, and we can just go back and forth. Before they're recording, if you have it on tape style, they'll be able to hear themselves the whole time. There's just really not going to be any issues. It's not going to cut off or anything. You can use it as a talkback mic, and when you need to mute, you just and then, hey, sing this, and I could set up a beautiful channel strip for me to be singing through, and then it'll be always on. They'll always hear it. And if you look right here, these are my outputs right here. So let me pull this over. So as you see, these are my aux ends right here, and you can see what's labeled. So if I change this label, and you'll see it change there as well, but if I go like this and I say, this is, I don't know, Alyssa, right? You'll see it change right there. So, oh right, you can't see this right here. Let me see if I let me just adjust this real quick so that you guys can see that a little bit better. Um, let's just kind of drag this up. And okay, right there. So, as you see right here, down here, I can just rename something. So let's say it's Bob now. And then over here it changes, right? But these are all my aux inputs. As you see, my aux outputs, these are all my sends for headphones. As you see, nothing, my aux is just going, and nothing's armed, and they can hear me. So let me know if you would do this, because to me, this is probably one of the coolest things ever. I think this is just freaking amazing. I love it. Let me see what this looks like when I go back to this screen. Oh, it doesn't look bad. I don't remember which one I set it for. I think it's because I had this showing the tracking toolbar more. Um, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's not a big deal. As far as I don't think you guys really need to see the label. You can see the label changing up there. So, anyways, I'm gonna lock it right there. Boop. So, anyhow, um, now you can kind of see the full power of what is the the aux track and how you can utilize it, because I personally find that to be freaking awesome to have a mic always on and never like having any issues. That to me is huge. Um and so now that we've talked about that, I'm going to mute this and turn this back on. So um you see that the aux input is pretty darn powerful, and I think we should definitely think about using it because it can open a lot of doors for you as far as recording process goes. We're going to do this, and we're going to remove all of these. Bam. Don't need any of those. Where am I? Over here. Okay, cool. And then aux and tune. I don't need these either. These can disappear. And I should be down just to what I normally have here on this. Great. We're going to save that. So now, before we end this video, the last thing I want to talk to you guys about was ghost outputs. So if I go to my output section and I just scroll to the bottom, you'll see where my actual outputs end, including my ADATs. So now what you're going to see is I have extra outputs that don't go anywhere. So ghost outputs are really good for specific things. Sometimes, like plugins, don't like sometimes they don't like responding to offline printing. They just don't do well. So you need to like real-time print it. But sometimes even real-time printing with the dithering thing could be weird if you're double dithering. So what you can do is essentially send like something with a plugin out a ghost output, boom, and then create a record track and set that output to said input, whatever, and then record the effect through here onto essentially this right here. So ghost outputs are a really cool thing. You should definitely look into them. I would say they're really good for helping you with really buggy plugins that just for some reason don't like to cooperate with offline printing. Or sometimes, like, let's say there's an automation thing that you want to do. The thing is, if you do any automation, you have to real time print. It won't let you just print. So sometimes what's nice to do is like literally automate it in real time. So let's say it's a MIDI thing or anything, you could send it out a ghost output, then put it onto an audio track, and then do the automation on your controller or whatever in real time. And then it's just printed automatically onto this track through whatever thing you were playing. And what that allows you to do is now print offline with the exact sound of what you wanted. Um, and it just makes things faster because now all of a sudden it's printed, it's done. You don't have to do it for an entire long song. It could be maybe you need to automate something for like 2 seconds and just print it in real time and it's done. And then once you do that, it's committed because sometimes like you can right click on MIDI and turn it into audio, like bounce it in real time. And sometimes, especially like I've noticed in studio when it can be finicky or like the reverb tail's too long, some like just something's weird about it. Whereas if you print it in real time, you can control how that swells. Like you can literally fade out the reverb, and that's printed, and then you're done. And then you could just print offline. So don't be afraid of creating ghost outputs because I think those are very valuable. Don't do any ghost inputs, they're really useless. It's ghost outputs that are very useful. You can't really do anything with ghost inputs. Um, so yeah, those are the two things I wanted to talk to you guys about, the auxes and the ghost outputs. Hopefully those are two things that you might want to actually end up using. And let me know if you really liked what you heard here. I'll give you another sample of it. Remember, follow Suav City Sessions so that you can see artists like this being on camera live in their habitats, if you will. And we will be posting a lot of stuff there. Great content, R&B, rock and roll, mix of the two, and rock and R&B. That means Blues Foundation. That means the Soul Foundation. I know Savo's got more of a rap style, but the band is also very nurtured in R&B, and that's why I also wanted to highlight them. So we'll be mixing them on this channel. So once again, here's a sneak peek of Savo's song. Now, I will say that this is reverb from the Q16 that we recorded this through. I committed the reverb in, but I also never like know if I'm going to use it because where sometimes with reverb it may sound great in this space that you're in for the live situation, but on the recording situation it's like out of control even if I EQ it. So I actually kind of found that this reverb might be a little bit crazy for like studio recording, but for the live spot it sounded great. So I'll probably just have to mute this and throw my own reverb on there. That's what I might end up doing, but we'll get to that when we get to that on the mixing side. So once again, here's a sneak peek, and actually, I just want to show you guys just some of the band's overall sound, because holy cow, these guys can jam. Um, so this is a trap jazz kit and stuff, and then these guys are DI, but just listen to the group, bro. And that kick. Now, unless you have a sub in your room, you probably don't realize how freaking nice and thick that sounds. I've only done a small thing and a small little compression boost just for the video's sake of just showing you guys what this sounds like. It's not necessarily what it's going to end up sounding like for the mix, but oh my god, that sounds sweet. And we'll go over how I mic'd everything up. But anyhow, follow us on the Suav City sessions to start seeing some of a lot of the musicians I work for, and then on this channel we will have some of these musicians on here. Well, a good amount of musicians on here, interviewing them, talking about their upbringing in music, teaching you guys some tricks on guitar, teaching you guys some tricks on bass. um, teaching us some production tips in how they function and how they work. And yeah, it'll be cool. We're working with Lizzie Paris and TSAVO. They're gonna have albums coming soon, and I got a couple other artists that we'll be working with. So um, follow me at Chalita Suav, right here, Chalita Suav on Instagram, YouTube, obviously, and those are my most prominent. But everything of mine is Chalita Suav. So even my Xbox account, if you want to play some Xbox, hit me up, on my off days. But yeah, so Suave City Sessions coming soon. Website launching next month. Hit me up to get your tracking toolbar macro page for free before I launch it next month. So, yeah, or well, this month because it's already the following month. So, this month is going to be launched within like the third, fourth week. So, hit me up if you want to get that for free before you got to pay for it. And if you're on the exchange, remember it's free for you. Also, if you are in the exchange, go to the website and find my profile. It will be Chalito Suave. I have some really good guitar presets, and I just uploaded a vocal preset, and I am gonna have a couple of other. I have like synth presets, 808 presets with all stock synths and stuff from PreSonus. So there's some really good stuff that I'm putting out on there on the exchange as well, other than this stuff that you've seen. So and some of those are on my shorts, but yeah, definitely go check it out. Anyways, thanks for watching, Suave City. We will connect again soon. Take care of yourself and have a good day.